Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. We are going to cover some stuff today, but it's probably not going to be heartwarming. Happy Friday.
Hey, get a shirt on here. Don't know, wants to be summer or what? They go to sleep cold, wake up hot. Ugh.
Yeah, that sounds like summer to me.
There's no smoke today. Not
That's
here.
nice. That's an improvement.
All right, man. Hello, folks. Pick my stuff around here. Get ready. Okay, you almost look civilized now. Almost. Oh, I'll never look civilized.
Yeah, I mean, you have a beard and long hair. That's like, oh, do you live on an island? Did you get stranded?
I'm a hermit. I live in a cave and I have to go and kill yaks every day for food. That's what I do. Today's the yak hunt.
Okay, the yak hunt.
Not there. I'm not there yet. Oh, I got my headlines. So you got your headlines?
I got my headlines, so let's get started.
Okay.
Today on Before Coffee, Zelensky steps up criticism of International Red Cross over inaction at Kakhovka Dam.
Oh, and Donald Trump becomes the second president to be indicted. And the first president was, let me see here, Donald Trump.
EU agrees radical reforms on migration and asylum laws.
How did the Canadian wildfires start? A look at what's driving the fires that covered the East Coast in smoke.
Swiss billionaire jailed over asbestos-related deaths in Italian town.
And Tesla will open its charging network to GM's electric vehicles. And today on Friday, June 9th, 2023 edition of Before Coffee.
Okay, let's talk about the dam. Vladimir Zelensky, while scolding chiding the West for being slow in providing help, has shifted his line of criticism from the pace of which arms has been reaching his country to slow international response to the humanitarian and ecological disaster caused by the breach of the Kakhovka hydroelectric dam. Before visiting the flood-affected areas on Thursday, he used his nightly address to say, large-scale efforts are needed. We need international organizations such as the International Committee on Red Cross to immediately join the rescue operation and help the people in the occupied part of Kherson region. Each person that dies there is a verdict on the existing international architecture and international organizations that have forgotten how to save lives. If there is no international organization in the area of this disaster now, it means it does not exist at all, that it is incapable of functioning. Wow, he is so, he is not ready to take any bullshit. He told the German newspaper Der Bild that the UN and the ICRC are not there. His remarks reflect his anger that the UN and much international reporting is not yet rebutting Russian claims of innocence over the dam's destruction, or focusing on the Russian failure to help those on the occupied left bank. Like, no one's helping anybody, they're just pointing their fingers, right? And it's like, can we stop arguing who did it and just save people's lives first? And then we can argue later about who did it? The UN and the ICRC say they have been denied access by Moscow to the occupied left bank. But his criticism is only his latest salvo in his savaging of the performance of the ICRC in Ukraine, and as opposed to the Red Cross Ukraine. Zelensky and his circle believe that Geneva-based organization has used the cover of neutrality, international law, and confidentiality to mask a moral weakness. Dmytro Lubinets, the Ukrainian ombudsman for human rights, said last month that every day he is faced with the fact that the Red Cross does not want to perform its functions, But worst of all, the Red Cross has a monopoly and does not allow other organizations to appear either. Oh, that is a problem. I had no idea oh, the Red Cross isn't going? We're not going to help either. That's so fucked up. He said one organization uses its history, its name, to get in the way of doing something impactful. Lubinets added Ukraine wanted a second organization to be established with co-responsibility for accessing political prisoners, arguing that competition might spur the ICRC to be more proactive. That sounds like a good plan.
Yep.
Efforts were clearly underway on Thursday to patch up relations with meetings between the UN and the Ukrainian officials in Kherson. The Ukrainian Red Cross was also stressing that it was active on the ground. In a statement, the UN humanitarian body said it had organized water trucking and delivered more than 100,000 bottles of drinking water, water purification tablets, and jerry cans to affected communities in the Kherson region. The UN coordinator on humanitarian affairs, Martin Griffiths, hugely experienced British diplomat, insists his teams are already active on the ground and he was working to gain access to the Russian-controlled areas. This was a story from Patrick Wintour out of Ukraine on The Guardian.
Right.
Your story.
Well, good luck all the rescue workers that can get there. Trump indicted. The 7 counts against former president include conspiracy to obstruct, willful retention of documents, and false statements. According to the people familiar with the indictment, this is according to the New York Times, who broke the story last night. The Justice Department on Thursday took a legally and politically momentous step of lodging federal criminal charges against former President Donald Trump, accusing him of mishandling classified documents he kept upon leaving office and obstructing government's efforts to reclaim them. Trump confirmed on his social media platform that he had been indicted. The charges against him include willfully retaining national defense secrets in violation of the Espionage Act, making false statements, and a conspiracy to obstruct justice, according to 2 people familiar with the matter. The Justice Department made no comment and did not immediately make the indictment public. The indictment handed by a grand jury in federal district court in Miami is the first time a former president has faced federal charges. It puts the nation in an extraordinary position. Again, we're editorializing again, so I'm going to skip that. Mr. Trump is expected to surrender to authorities on Tuesday, according to a person close to him in his own post on social media platform Truth Social. The corrupt Biden, let's not quote idiot. Okay, the former president added that he was scheduled to be arraigned on federal court. Trump's claiming the president of the United States did this. Sorry, Trump. It was a grand jury in Florida. A grand jury in Florida. Not a president, not a politician. Grand juries are sometimes 24 people. You know, they're not just like, oh, well, I got jury duty. Let me get out of it. They're professional jurists. They indicted him. They said, hey, you broke the law, and everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. In a video released later on Truth Social, Trump declared, I am an innocent man. I am an innocent person. And nobody believes that. The indictment, filed by the Office of Special Counsel Jack Smith, came in about 2 months after prosecutors in New York filed more than 30 felony charges against Mr. Trump in a case connected to a hush money payment made to a porn star. Yeah, let's believe that guy. Mr. Trump remains under investigation in Mr. Smith's office for his wide-ranging efforts to retain power after his election in 2020 and how those efforts led to January 20th, 2021 assault of the Capitol and by a pro-Trump mob. He's also being scrutinized for political election interference by the district attorney officer in Fulton County, Georgia. So we still got 2 indictments out there yet. Public filings in the documents case have painted a picture of Mr. Trump repeatedly stonewalling efforts of both the National Archives and Records Administration and the Justice Department to retrieve a trove of hundreds of sensitive government records that the former president took with him to the White House and kept mostly at his private club and a residence in Florida, Mar-a-Lago. Once again, even if you have a right to these documents, you are not storing them properly, and you did not give them back when they asked for them. I mean, come on. What legal basis do you have for this case? you broke the law. You should go to prison. If I should be in jail right now. I know I would be in jail right now. While the nature... What?
They wouldn't even wait to put you in jail.
Yeah, I know that.
You first.
That low-level Pentagon worker has not got out of jail since he was arrested for, putting stuff on gaming.
Discord.
Well, on Discord, yeah.
On the thing
well,
the
nature
now, people were giving out his secret information.
Yeah, he was giving out during like, what is it?
He was
Fortnite.
bragging about how cool he was by actually dishing out.
Hey, everybody, on Fortnite, I got government secrets. And everybody's like, well, let's have them. What?
So it didn't happen. Okay, here's some pictures. You're
that guy,
arrested.
That guy can't get bail. Yeah. Meanwhile, we got this guy who's got thousands or God knows how many secret documents and probably still has them. Probably buried him with his ex-wife. We don't know. He's a criminal. Lock him up. Okay, enough editorializing by me, because here in New York Times is going to do this both siderism where they strain so much to give Trump's side that they end up giving him political cover,
Yeah.
Like they put headlines like, support for Trump has remained unchanged. How the fuck is that relevant to this article? It isn't. You're supposed to be reporting the news. Don't tell us about the fucking polls. Don't tell me about...
The demagogue bigots or whatever who believe Trump shit's gold. Those people
it's in New York Times.
I'm just saying, these are people who are known to be completely unhinged. The unhinged people still believe in the guy that's lying to them. Wow, what a crazy concept there.
Yeah,
well, that's not news, right? It's not news. His crazy followers believe him even though they're crazy. Wow, thanks for the update.
Let's have some legitimate news. They give him like 20 minutes of political cover for Trump about, he still could be the Republican nominee, blah, 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 blah. Here's the polls say, here's what this, that, and he's still popular, blah, 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 blah. No, let's get some actual facts instead of talking about polls, because polls basically ask the same 100 people over and over again. I swear that's what happens on polls. On CNN, Trump's lawyer, Jim Trusty, said that Trump's legal team had not been shown the indictment itself, but the summons commanding Trump to appear in court had some language and suggests what 7 charges would be. He mentioned the Espionage Act, multiple false statement charges, and several obstruction-based type charges. Specifically, he mentioned Section 1519, which relates to the obstruction, official effort, and widely expected because it was listed on the FBI search warrant affidavit. But also a new one, Section 1512, which criminalizes witness tampering and other means of obstructing official proceedings. So, Tuesday's the day we get to see Trump perp walk into the Miami courthouse. Your story.
Okay.
I'm delighted, by the way. Delighted.
I know you are.
Yes, I am. Sorry. I hate the fake sincerity. I am delighted.
Okay. In EU radical reforms on migration. This is from Lisa O'Carroll, the Brussels correspondent for The Guardian. The EU has agreed to radical reforms of its migration and asylum laws, including charges of 20,000 euros per head for member countries that refuse to host refugees. Okay, so that's nice. If you don't host refugees, you will be charged 20,000. And let's say there's 1,000 refugees. Give us some money. After almost 12 hours of intense negotiations in Luxembourg and years of fighting, interior ministers struck a deal on Thursday at what they described as a historical new approach to what one politician described as often toxic topic. No kidding. Maria Malmer Stenegard, who was part of the Swedish lead negotiating team, said, "I didn't really believe I would be sitting here saying this, but we have adopted general approaches on the Asylum and Migration Management Regulation and Asylum Procedure Regulation." It's taken so long, she didn't believe she'd ever say those words. Under a last-minute compromise, it was agreed that member states, rather than the EU as a whole, would determine what country is safe for migrants turned away at the grounds that they are not eligible for asylum. Countries would be obliged to show a connection with the country that any migrant is transferred to, but this link can be defined by the member state, a diplomat said. This appears to give each country flexibility on whether they can return migrants to a third country that's not every EU nation might agree is a safe haven. One source said the deal was struck after Italy and several other states demanded that their so-called connection rule, requiring strong bonds with a third country such as a year-long work history, was watered down. At the weakest interpretation of the connection rule, a member state that wants to return a migrant to a third country may need only to demonstrate that an applicant has stayed in that country, which would enable Italy, for example, to transfer migrants to Tunisia. Wait, why can't I say it? Tunisia.
Tanzania?
Tanzania?
It's in Africa. Tanzania.
I know where it is, but my
Tanzania.
My
That's
brain
how you
can't
say it. Tanzania.
Italy's Interior Minister Matteo Piantedosi said today is a day where something is beginning. We are not arriving, we are setting off. The political significance of Italy, which is the front line of the migration crisis, is underlined by the revelation that the European Commission chief Ursula von der Leyen and Mark Rutte, the Dutch Prime Minister, will join Italian PM Giorgia Meloni on a visit to Tunisia in the coming days. Meloni, who was swept to power last year on tough rhetoric about immigrants, hopes to strike a partnership deal with the government to take migrants. A new system allowing for a redistribution of migrants across the EU will also be put in place, with an effective quota of how many people frontline states have to process before asking for help. Charges, which Poland branded fines for those countries who cannot take a share of relocated migrants, are set at 20,000 euros per head, down from the 22,000 first mooted at the opening of Thursday's negotiations, so they took 2,000 off. Bulgaria, Lithuania, Malta, and Slovakia abstained from voting for the deal, while Hungary and Poland indicated they would not support it. I mean, yeah, Poland loves just sending Russian escapees back to Russia and like, oh, it's not my problem if you get tortured and killed. Out of my hands. Germany, Ireland, Luxembourg, and Portugal said they would continue to campaign for changes in the full legislation to exclude children and unaccompanied minors from the new rules. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm a 2-year-old. Well, sorry, we don't have room for you. You're not applicable. We're gonna send you back to Syria. I'm a 2-year-old. Hello? Nancy Faeser, Germany's home minister,
Trump
said,
administration.
"This was not an easy decision for all of us around the table, but it is historic." The Dutch government hailed it as an important step, while the Austrians said it was a step forward, but urged counterparts to continue the effort to stamp out the tragedy in the Mediterranean. More than 2,000 people suffocated or drowned attempting the crossing last year. Alright, that's the end of my lovely article where I had a million problems, but on to your story.
Not as many problems as refugees have. How did the Canadian wildfires start? We asked. CBS News has a story on it by Kara Corte. Over the past 6 weeks, massive wildfires have spread across Canada, causing mass evacuations and burning through more than 3.3 million hectares of land, area larger than the state of Maryland. While the Canada wildfire season runs from May through October, such destruction this early in the season is rare. 1 month in, Canada is on track to have its most destructive wildfire season in history. Climate change-driven temperatures and drought have created a tinderbox. This Canadian crisis has not been limited to the Great North. Smoke from the fires has spread across large portions of the U.S., affecting air quality for millions across the East Coast as the fires rage on without any signs of stopping. That's without signs of stopping. Why is Canada burning? Warm and dry conditions are like kindling for wildfires. Much of Canada, like the rest of North America, has experienced record heat and drought recently as climate change continues to warm the planet. The fire season is also lasting longer now because of climate change. Spring is coming weeks earlier and fall is coming weeks later. More time for fires and grasslands to burn. Edward Struzik, a fellow at Queen's Institute for Energy and Environmental Policy at Queen's University in Canada, and author of Dark Days at Noon, The Future of Fire, told CBS News. In 2021, Canada experienced its hottest day ever when Lytton, British Columbia hit 49.6 degrees, which is 121 degrees Fahrenheit. smashing the previous record of 113 degrees. It tied California's Death Valley for the hottest place in North America that day. In the Canadian prairies of Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba, where fires now rage, drought has hit particularly hard. According to the Canada Drought Monitor, all 10 provinces are experiencing abnormal dryness, moderate, and severe drought. Struzek said the jet stream, which creates weather and moves it from west to east, also contributes to the fires. It's getting weaker, he said, because its strength depends on how the temperature differences between the Arctic and the South. Now that the Arctic is warming faster than the rest of the world, the jet stream is weaker, a little wonkier. That's one reason why we see hot, dry weather systems stall, allowing heat domes to build and set the stage for fire, he said. According to the Canadian Wildlife Fire Information System, the destruction from these fires up to this point on the season has been 13 times worse than the 10-year average. 13 times worse than the 10 years average. Wow. And as New York City suffocated under a thick smog that turned the skies orange and shrouded its skyscrapers and the Statue of Liberty, Senator Chuck Schumer said in the Florida Senate on Wednesday that the climate change was driven by smoke blanketing the eastern seaboard. These Canadian wildfires are truly unprecedented, and we cannot ignore that climate change continues to make these disasters worse. Warmer temperatures and fewer droughts mean forests burn faster, burn hotter, burn bigger, and warming is happening at a faster pace in countries with higher latitudes. None of this is a coincidence. Dry, hot weather also breeds more lightning. In a normal season, half of Canada's wildfires are started by lightning, but those fires account for more than 85% of wildfire destruction. The other half are human-caused. What might seem like slight increases in average temperatures have major consequences. Most fires in the boreal forests in northern Canada are started by lightning. A 1 degree Celsius increase in temperature amounts to about a 12% more lightning. So the warmer it gets, the climate heats up, the more triggers there are for fires to burn. In Quebec, for example, fires are sparked by lightning, but officials in Alberta have said what the cause of fires there is currently unknown. Elsewhere in the country, these fires have been human-caused in various ways, from discarded cigarette butts to sparks from passing trains. Hard to really prevent trains from creating sparks. That's metal on metal constantly. Your turn.
Yep, it's a hard thing to deal with.
Yep.
And
they're still burning, folks.
In a lot of, historically, naturally, or whatever, a lot of places are just supposed to burn out in the summer. That's what all the plants there, that's what they're meant to do. That's how they spread their seeds. They get on fire, so. It just sucks because humans live there now, and they don't want their houses to be burnt down.
And a lot of these places are tundra, too, so that fire is going to start burning permafrost.
Yeah.
And get underground and never go out, like those coal fires.
All right.
Yep. I got to go to Canada. This is screwing my vacation, man. I was planning to go to Canada. Now I don't think so, man.
Unfortunate. In Italy news, it's not about migrants or illegal immigration. Instead, it's about a Swiss billionaire who's been jailed over deaths caused by asbestos. Narco by Angela Giuffrida in Rome. A Swiss billionaire has been sentenced to 12 years in jail on aggravated manslaughter charges connected to the deaths of hundreds of people due to asbestos exposure.
Good stuff.
What has been hailed as the most significant trial in Italy over workplace deaths, Stephen Schmidhenny, an industrialist and former main shareholder in the cement production company Eternit Italia, was sentenced by a court in Novara after being found guilty of causing the death of 390 people in Casale Monferrato, the Piedmont town that until 1986 was home to the largest of the Eternit Italia's 6 factories. Of the victims, 60 were factory workers while the rest were living in town or the surrounding area. So they killed an entire town. Well, not like an entire town, but a large majority of the town's population. I've been affected by this, and some people have died because of it. Eternit's factories had used asbestos, which was once considered the miracle mineral because of its durability and resistance to flames, to strengthen cement during the 1970s and 1980s. Schmidt-Heine, 73, had managed to plant the plant in Casale Monferrato from 1976 until its closure. In addition, judges ordered him to pay £50 million or 50 million euros in provisional damage to Casale Monferrato's local authority, as well as 30 million euros to the Italian state and 500 million to local association for relatives of victims of the asbestos.
Asbestos.
Rather than the company, was tried because, according to Italian law, the owner of a firm is deemed responsible in the event of workplace accidents or death. Astolfo Di Amato, Schmidt-Heine's lawyer, I don't know how to say it, so his name, so I'm just going to keep saying it differently every time. That's how he says it.
That's my style.
Told the Ad Kronos news agency that he would appeal, adding that he was already very pleased that the court's manslaughter verdict means his client could not be considered an intentional. Yeah, he wasn't like, yo, let's kill a town, put some asbestos in. Prosecutor Gianfranco Coles, who had called for a life sentence, argued that Schmidt-Heine was aware that the asbestos killed, but continued in his conduct. Among the 392 victims was Rosa Grangia, who died aged 76 in 2004, almost 2 decades after the factory closed. Grangia lived in a hamlet close to the Casale Monferrato that was about 3.5 kilometers away from the plant. She died of cancer 6 months after being diagnosed. The factory's waste was crushed outside, meaning asbestos dust would be blown across the town. Gagliotti said doctors began to notice a rise in the frequency of pleural mesothelioma, a rare case of cancer caused by exposure to asbestos in the late 1970s. Often symptoms of the illness did not manifest for years. About 50 new cases are detected in Casale Monferrato each year. That's a lot for one. Everyone's getting cancer. Suspicious. Eternit SEG, led by Schmidt-Heine, was leading shareholder in Eternit Italia until its bankruptcy in 1996. Massimiliano Turico, the director of the website Sicurezza e Lavoro, Safety and Work, said, "The most important trial was workplace deaths in Italy has concluded in Novara. It is important to signal that we could give impetus to other workplace trials and to continue remediation over asbestos." It's a sad story, but also a happy story because a rich guy paid for his crimes, and that's why I decided to cover
a rich guy going to prison.
Yeah.
How rare is that? Juries must really...
I mean, and not only that, but he also has to pay fines, right? So he's double.
Oh yeah,
he's
wow.
Double punished, and I love it when billionaires, because billionaires should not exist, and I love when they have to give their money away for being shitty.
Yeah. For killing people with mesothelioma. In the United States, we know what mesothelioma is because if you watch any TV at all, they got them 5-minute ad blocks for lawyers. Have you been exposed to asbestos? Call, Hines and Dewey, Cheatham and Howe, and we'll sue them bastages for you. Tesla will open its charging network to GM electric vehicles. The electric car company, which operates the country's most extensive charging network, struck a similar deal with Ford Motor Company recently. This is by Jack Ewing of the New York Times. General Motors said on Thursday that it would adopt Tesla's technology to charge its electric vehicles, including the selling models that use plugs pioneered by Tesla. The announcement, 2 weeks after Ford struck a comparable agreement, is likely to make Tesla's plugs the industry standard and squeeze companies that are racing to build similar networks as sales of electric vehicles surge. The agreements mean that Ford and GM vehicles will be able to use Tesla chargers, which are often the only ones available in many places and have a reputation for reliability. This really almost doubles access to chargers for GM customers. Mary T. Barra, the automaker's chief executive, said during a streamed Twitter conversation with Elon Musk, the chief executive of Tesla and owner of Twitter. Musk said the deal is going to be a fundamentally great thing for the advancement of EV adoption. But it may raise concerns that Tesla, which already dominates electric vehicle sales, could overwhelm competitors in the fast-growing charging business. Unfortunately, that sentence is meaningless. This is how the industry works. Company comes with an invention, somebody comes with a standard, and they work it out between themselves. What's going to be the standard? This happens all the time. It happens with. I'm sure they'll cover it in the story. While GM gets access to more chargers, Tesla will make money from selling energy to owners of models made by other automakers. Tesla has been charging owners of those other cars higher rates than owners of its own cars. The electric car company also needs to open its network to qualify for some $7.5 billion that the federal government is spending to speed up the construction of charging stations. By adopting Tesla's charging standard, Ford and GM also risk becoming dependent on their most formidable competitor. Neither of the Michigan-based automakers sells anywhere near as many electric cars as Tesla, and neither operates a charging network. Well, that's why you got to adopt to the one that's already there, man. Why would you spend money to start your own charging network? It just seems like, and then go, I hope this one is more popular. No, it's not going to be more popular. You know, they got smart. They just said, okay, we give up. They're charging shit. We'll use that. It just makes sense. The agreement also has risks for Tesla. The popularity of cars has created congestion at the company's charging stations in some cities and along some highways. Tesla owners may become irritated that they will have to queue with cars made by Ford and GM. I don't think Tesla owners will be pleased to watch a Ford Mustang Mach-E getting charged while they wait in line. Well, tough titty. I don't know what the fuck to tell you. The battle between Tesla's charging plugs and what's currently used by Ford, GM, and other automakers recalls the competition between Betamax and VHS video cassettes. So there you go. They give an example in the article. VHS ultimately won the battle, even though Betamax was probably better. At one level, the competition between the standards is wonky, technical issue, with each side claiming its plug is a better choice, but it could have long-lasting implications for the millions of people who are expected to switch to electric vehicles in the coming years. Tesla sells cars with plug known as the North American Charging Standard. Ford, GM, and most other car makers have sold cars with plugs using the Combined Charging System plugs. The two are not compatible. Fast chargers offered by companies like Evgo and Electrify America typically have both plugs and can charge Teslas as well as cars from manufacturers that use CCS, including Mercedes-Benz, Volkswagen, and Volvo. For most of its roughly 10 years history, Tesla's network, which operates in more than half the nearly 30,000 fast chargers in the country, was closed to cars from other manufacturers, but the company recently began allowing other cars to use some of its chargers. Reaction from competitors was restrained on Thursday. We support all moves to increase EV adoption, Brendan Jones, the chief executive of Blink Charging, said in an email. He added, we are monitoring the market closely, and we will adjust if we think necessary. Investors welcome the deal. The share prices of Tesla and GM were up 3%. Extended traded Thursday. Extended trading. They even extended the trading because, hey, let's buy some more. This year I was shaping up to be a critical of GM's electrical ambitions. The company is weeks away from offering battery-powered version of its Chevrolet Silverado pickup truck. It also plans to introduce electric iterations of the Blazer and Equinox sport utility vehicles. Ford is working to accelerate production of its F-150 Lightning pickup truck at a factory in Dearborn, Michigan. Mr. Musk said during the conversation that with Ms. Barra that Tesla would not use its control of the nation's largest charging network to disadvantage competitors, but if Tesla's standard becomes dominant, other operators will be relying on a competitor for information they need to manufacture and install charging networks. Jonathan Levy, the chief commercial officer for EVgo, said the company will hope that the North American standard will be published in a way that suppliers across the industry will have access to deliver more charging options for EV drivers. Beginning in 2024, owners of Ford and GM electric vehicles will buy adapters to connect to Tesla fast chargers. In 2025, both companies plan to sell vehicles designed to use Tesla's North American plug. Owners would need an adapter to connect to CCS chargers. Get busy on making them adapters, everybody. I'm just saying, that's another business opportunity for somebody.
Yeah,
making
I don't
those
understand
adapters.
why companies are like, we must own every level of everything so that we can get money from all of these sources. I'm like, dude, like, the world has always existed this way. You're not going to be able to make every single part. You're going to have to pay someone at some point. Sorry.
There never
Welcome
used to
to
be
a
gasoline
business.
standards. When gasoline first started, you could put like kerosene, whatever, just like it varied from station to station. I mean, it just takes time for this thing to shake out. That's all. Sorry, go ahead.
That's it.
Dependable widespread public charging is the key to driving scaling adoption of EVs. Jim Farley, the chief executive of Ford, said in an email, the Tesla supercharger network has proven reliability and has already established charging corridors across the U.S. and Canada. Your story.
Okay. Let's hope for no monopolies. That's what I'm hoping for. Oh, right.
Well,
if we even get that far.
We know in the United States we're not going to lock up any rich people. That's just not happening.
In culture / not so serious news, the Dutch rubber duck who delighted Hong Kong returns after 10 years and with a boyfriend. It's a gay rubber duck. In 2013, Dutch artist Florentijn Hofman captured the hearts of Hong Kong with a huge rubber duck. For its 10th anniversary, the duck returns to the Chinese city and has brought a friend with him. The bright yellow double ducks are 60 feet tall and will be displayed in the city's Victoria Harbor for the next 2 weeks. According to the artist, Hong Kong, with its background of gray glass skyscrapers, lends itself perfectly to a brightly colored project, like 2 enormous yellow rubber ducks. I hope it brings as much joy as last time. In a world struggling with the pandemic, wars, and political turmoil, this is the perfect time to bring a double happiness. Hoffman considered it a logical development that his original duckling now has another one. The pandemic made us realize how important it is to live in the moment and be together, says a press release on his site. He hopes that the childlike wonder evoked by the ducks offers the opportunity to forget ordinary life for a while and share a special moment with loved ones or strangers of seeing a giant rubber duck. They're huge. Mega rubber
Ernie's
duck.
excited.
The mega rubber ducks with her. Since 2007, Hoffman has been traveling the world with this huge duckling. He transforms the ports of Sydney, Osaka, Sao Paulo, and Los Angeles into enormous bathtubs by letting the enlarged toys float around in them. Hoffman says his project is purely for fun. Duckling has no political message and appeals to people of all ages and backgrounds. A columnist for an important newspaper in Hong Kong sees it differently. In a city where China is acting increasingly repressive and last weekend made commemorations of the victims of Tiananmen Square impossible, a rubber duck can also be interpreted politically. The artist wants to redefine the public space and provoke encounters and discussion. People coming together? If that isn't a radical call in Hong Kong, I don't know what is, the columnist concluded. In any case, toy animals are warmly welcome. It is a bright spot for a despondent society, responds a visitor. The government is better off spending public money on this rather than some other things. Wow, they found the one guy that was like, yeah, we should just fill the whole harbor with rubber ducks. Fuck it.
More ducks.
I mean, I kind of agree with that statement. It's not really political. And it's great that, life is ending. We can't do anything. The government's oppressing us or whatever. You can't kill everyone's hope. You have to give them some room to be like, hey, the world's shit, but hey, somebody was able to put a giant rubber duck in the harbor.
Don't you hate people that are serious all the time?
Yeah. No
You want
way.
to smack them. Yeah.
Well,
Like,
there's my
this
short
is really
story.
serious. Yeah. It's usually about their job, too. That's what they're serious about. We got to be serious because my job's on the line. I'm like, I don't give a fuck about your job.
Not my problem.
Everybody's like, oh no, my way of life might change 2%. You better go take this seriously. No, I'm not. I'm not taking you seriously, ever, no matter what you do. Okay, this ain't history. In 1358, the Jacquerie, the revolt of French peasants against abuses inflicted upon them by the nobility of northeastern France, suffered a critical defeat in Meaux. That's spelled M-E-A-U-X. Meaux. I think, right?
Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
1815, the final act of the Congress of Vienna, comprising Several agreements separately negotiated among various participants in the reorganization of Europe after the aftermath of the Napoleonic Wars was signed by representatives of Austria, France, Great Britain, Portugal, Prussia, Russia, and Sweden, and guaranteed peace forever, which we're still living with. Just kidding. 1870, English writer Charles Dickens died at Gad's Hill near Chatham, Kent. 1891, American composer and lyricist Cole Porter was born in Peru, Indiana. In 1940, German tank forces under Major General Erwin Rommel crossed the Seine River and pushed the Atlantic coast of France during World War II. On this day, 1942, the residents of the village of Ludis, now in the Czech Republic, were rounded up, most to be massacred in the next day in a reprisal for the assassination by Czech underground fighters of Reinhard Heydrich, a deputy leader of the Nazi paramilitary group SS. So, famous day in Nazi scumbag history. American Racehorse Secretariat won the Belmont Stakes to capture the Triple Crown in this day in 1973. He had Secretary earlier won the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness Stakes. Now, saying Secretary won those races is a disservice. Secretary won those races going away. I mean, it was sick. I mean, seriously. You watch horse races, are usually close. None of these races were close. This horse just ran away from the whole entire field. Crazy. American baseball player Ken Griffey Jr. hit his 600th career home run this day in 2008, becoming the sixth player in Major League history to accomplish that feat. And notable on this day, landslide re-election victory for Margaret Thatcher. That's right, conservative Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, buoyed by a victory in the Falkland Islands War, where they defeated some sheep, and a deep division within the opposition with the Labour Party, was easily re-elected to a second term of office. And this day in 1983, as the world in 1980 continued its decline towards fascism. And 1981, we're going to cover birthdays. 1981, Natalie Portman was born today, Israeli-American actress. I didn't know she was Israeli. I know she's like a scientist. I know that. 1963, Johnny Depp was born on this day, so he's reached my age now. 1961, Michael J. Fox was born on this day, so he's a year older roughly than me. And in 1915, Les Paul, American inventor and musician, was born and we already covered Cole Porter. Cole Porter and Les Paul born have the same birthday with Johnny Depp and Michael J. Fox and Natalie Portman. Isn't that cool? Les Paul, coolest guy ever. June 9th, 1672. Peter the Great was born. So there you go. Peter the Great of Russia. I don't know what's so great about him, but I didn't know him. Maybe he was just average and just had no competition for being great. You know, Back then, just being average was enough to be considered great. Wow, that guy could tie his shoe. Peter the Great. You know, low standards back in those days for great. And what day is it today? It's National Earl Day. If your name is Earl, or if you're like a royal guy with a title named Earl, there you are. It's your day, Earl. National Donald Duck Day. This goes in with our rubber duck story, does it not?
Yeah,
does it not?
Look at that.
If you're going to get a rubber duck, you can't go wrong with one that looks like Donald. National Movie Night is second Friday in June, so it's National Movie Night in June. When it's nice outside. Makes no sense. It'd be December or something.
Yeah.
Coral Triangle Day is June 9th. So it's Coral Triangle. Go to your coral reef and go scuba diving today if you can.
And help them.
Go ahead.
And clean them out of trash, because a lot of them are dying because of plastic and stuff. So go clean a coral.
Don't worry, planet Earth will come back and just spit us out like a old gum. Don't worry. It won't happen during our lifetimes, but it'll happen eventually. World Antiphospholipid Antibody Syndrome Day. If you can say that. Antiphospholipid Antibody Syndrome Day. Damn, I could be an auctioneer reading that. A National Strawberry Rhubarb Pie Day. With a 5 scoops of ice cream. Wow. And that's today. All of them for June 9th.
We've covered all of the days. All right,
Yeah,
this has been Allison here from Europe, hoping that, the refugee problem here isn't actually a problem. It's okay, and we need to stop acting like people from different countries are some sort of scum that are going to infect your country like a different body or something. And,
Yeah, you're all going to get syphilis and walk backwards or something.
Go look at pictures of the rubber duck in several different harbors, and have a good day. And Roger and a clear sky day here in Maryland. I don't know what the rest of the world, but at least today I can breathe. On June 9th, 2023 edition of Before Coffee. Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.